Michael Myers is here in this town.
So lighting is just so integral to everything. Like, think about Halloween from 1978.
Yeah.
And the lighting may as well be a character in the film.
Yeah.
People talk about it all the time. They talk about it more than a lot of people talk about it more than story points, kills. You know, oh, we gotta have that classic blue lighting. Gotta have that in there. And so like it is important. And so when doing my list, I definitely tried to think about like what did the mask look like at its best.
Yeah.
And where does it rank on my list?
Yeah, that's a good approach. That's definitely a good approach. I went a little different, but we'll get into it.
I'll kick things off. We'll start with my number 10. I just got to pull up my list here. Of course, my phone doesn't want to cooperate.
You want me to lead while you get that up?
My number 10 from the 2002 8th Halloween movie, Halloween Resurrection, is the mask worn by one Brad Loree. I am not a big fan of this mask, man. Don't like it at all in any sense of the way. If I could not have this mask on my top 10, I probably would have, but I didn't want to do multiple masks from a single film. So it's more or less process of elimination. There's two masks I really, really didn't like compared to this one. Yeah. So for me, my number 10 is Halloween Resurrection. And honestly, it's not that the mask looks terrible. The eyebrows throw me off a little bit. And there's just something about it that doesn't feel totally like Michael throughout the whole movie. For me.
Yeah, it's got kind of a strange look. The eye holes, they're not too big. They're definitely not H2O size, but yeah, the eyebrows throw it off a little bit. The face on it, it's kind of got a little bit of like a evil kind of villainous look to it, but it doesn't really sell me. So I can definitely see your number 10 being that. And for me, this didn't even make my list. So I kind of I avoided this one altogether.
All right. I feel less bad now. Symmetry says, I began my Myers mask collection in 85 when I bought the Dawn Post version offered that year. It was the only one of its type available during that time. Definitely more latex in nature than now.
Yeah.
Do you still have it, man? Or is that something that's fallen by the wayside?
That would be up there in age now. I would hope that would hold up, because these things, they deteriorate over time if you don't kind of store them away and take care of them. So hopefully, because that's that could be a pretty valuable piece, honestly. Because the Dawn Posts they're hard to find now, big time.
Alessandra says, speaking of Halloween, do you think they would ever bring back Tina to do a series? It's been on my mind for a minute. Dean, you watching a Tina series?
I mean, if she had like a cameo or a small role, I might check it out. But I think no Tina for me. I'm Tina'd out from 5. But what was she stabbed in the shoulder? So like you could play with that and be like, oh, it wasn't a fatal injury. So
God, no,
yeah, I know. There's as much as we don't want it, it's doable. I hate to say it, but yeah.
Man, she is one of my most hated characters in that franchise.
Yeah.
Hey, if you love her, then all the power to you. I think part of mine, like, is I have a hard time separating Tina from Rachel getting just royally fucked in that movie. Yeah. It's hard for me to take the two and separate them. I probably should be able to do that, but I can't.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they gave us. So we're stuck with that. And we discussed that a while ago, but that was a really bad decision. Terrible handling of her character, and we got into that, but they should have kept Rachel around at least till the end of that movie, killed her off, respectably, and at least went that direction. So no for Tina, and yes for Rachel. It's about the best I can say on it.
Oh man, more Rachel would be fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
I'd be totally for that.
Yep.
But whether that ever happens or not, I don't know if I'm that lucky.
Yeah.
What did you have at 10, dude?
All right, so for number 10, I started with Halloween 2, 2009. So Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and it's his aged mask, but it's before that shot right there. It's before half the face gets ripped off. There's something about that mask with the aging on it and the dirt that collected, and he's a drifter, so he's just kind of tossing that thing into a bag and handling it with his just dirty, grimy hands that just really put a lot of weathering on that. And just the look that it gets. I think the standout shot of that mask for me is in the middle of the field when the guys drive the truck out and they hop out to beat him when he's cutting through the field, and they knock him down, and then they kind of walk away, and he stands up and he pulls that thing over his face, and it's like the first time we see it, like in that dark field, and you kind of got the lighting from the lights of the truck. It's just, there's something about it that really kind of like, it looks menacing. So that was my number 10.
It's not on my list. That
Fair.
one for me is it's tough, right? Because like the poster shot, essentially just them taking the shot of him in the hospital,
right?
And what's her face in the head, is amazing.
Yeah,
love it. But I don't know. It's something about where they go with the mask in the movie that's just like not for me.
Nah, that's a no. That's the mistake I think they made right there, was ripping half the face off and exposing, that upper coda. Yeah, so bad. So bad.
So bad I'm choking. Why don't you start with number 9?
All right. 9, I went Halloween 6. It's grown on me over the years. Like, that's not the best shot of it, but like we talked about with lighting in some of the darker shots and the way that mask looks in certain scenes, it just, year after year of me rewatching it kind of caught on. So it's low on my list, but it made it. And there's only so many we can pick from. So this ended up making it over. I think I left out H2O and I left out Resurrection. So yeah.
Speak of the devil, H2O is next on my list at number 9. I don't mind, like, structurally, you could convince me that this is a very similar mask to the original.
Yeah, it's close.
But the eye holes kill me on this thing, man. It makes me not like the mask, and I think it is part of the problem with some of Michael's masks, or some of them just aren't very good.
Yeah. With this one, I think they could make some slight adjustments. One, you cut those eye holes smaller, and then when the actor's wearing it, you have to tilt it forward on his face more, and you have to get his eyes up behind the holes and closer to the top of it, where it kind of darkens them and it hides his eyes. And I think that would probably make that look a world of better.
We've talked about on this channel at length, a bunch of us anyways, that Michael's masks look the best when you cannot see his eyes, in my opinion.
Always.
And there are ways that they could have gone about hiding his eyes, just like simple technical things. We did it when we were shooting. It made visibility a little bit hard for the actor, but all in all, there's things you can do to definitely take away that look. Because, like, to me, when the eyes are as clear as they are in H2O, it takes away all the intimidation.
Yeah, I would agree. We really shouldn't see his eyes, especially in this capacity. And there's some shots where it's really brightly lit and you see his eyes clear as day, like you said. And then technically, H2O is supposed to be a follow-up to Halloween 2. And he's shot in the eyes at the end of that movie. and there is no damage done whatsoever to what we see here. So a little bit of a continuity error.
He's got a great eye doctor, apparently.
Yeah.
Let's continue on here. Number 8 for me. I actually thought I had this higher up my list, but I guess not. Is Halloween 4.
Wow.
And this is one of those shots where I go, I dig that mask.
Mhm.
I like it. I find that mask intimidating, especially in the dark when the lightning hits and like it makes a flash in the mirror. Like, I think this looks good. The problem is 90% of the movie, the mask does not look like this.
No. Yeah, it's almost totally different. I think it looks like the worst in the Bucky scene when he's standing in there and you get that really bright light shined on him. Yeah, he's just standing there and it's just like a flat face and it looks awful. And then you have this in the beginning and you're like, why didn't you just continue to go this route the whole rest of the movie? It would have worked so much better. I think this would be received a lot better if you have this instead of, the rest of what we got. So this is a good example right here of like the way lighting works and hiding the eyes. And I mean, you just look at that right there. Like that's a pretty good representation. It almost kind of lines up with the original. It's a little bit more round in the face, but that could be just the way it's worn by the actor there.
Yeah, it looks badass. I don't know if anybody in the chat has this knowledge, and I'd have to dig into the Taking Shape books again, but I don't believe is George Wilbur in the flashback scenes.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I forget what the other guy's name is, but I believe it's someone else in the flashback scenes. Mm-hmm. And to me, that would make some sense because you look at the way the mask fits, a good chunk of the rest of the movie compared to how it fits here. This mask creeped the shit out of me.
Yeah,
it did, and one of the reasons is you never ever come close to getting a glimpse of his eyes through it.
Yeah,
it's as if his eyes are not there.
Right, and that's how it should be. That's I believe
Halloween too, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I would agree. Gotta hide the eyes. That's a major factor. My phone keeps flopping. We're on 8, right? I have Halloween Ends at number 8 for me. I liked the evolution of the mask from 2018 to Kills and into Ends. And the only thing that takes away from this for me is I kind of thought from like a technical standpoint, and this is he goes into hiding and he's in the sewers and he's in that like musty and just moisture ridden like sewer. So that's going to really deteriorate and age this thing to where it's not going to really hold up like this. Like it's going to start to kind of like crack and peel and rip apart. So it would have been interesting to see if they had kind of done that a little bit, like certain spots, maybe around the eyes, at the neck a little bit, maybe like the splits at the mouth, if they just did a little bit of detail with that where it was starting to kind of crack apart and rip. I think it might have added a little bit. But the positive with this for me is the mold, when they had the mold growing on it, like that, anybody that knows, like wet anything, like damp areas, all that, mold growth is a big thing. So I thought that was a cool touch when they had like all of the white mold growing on it. You don't get that effect with the Trick or Treat Studios ones. They try to do it. Some look a little better than others, but if you've ever seen Chris Nelson's, he posted a shot on his Instagram of the Screen Use one that he did for the film, and that thing is just covered in mold all up and down the left side that was all burnt and into the hair. So I think they took a really cool approach with adding that mold effect to show like the aging and the environment that he was hiding in.
Admit it, this mask fell on your list simply because of the movie it's in.
And yeah, that definitely that had some, but I mean, it landed at 8. It wasn't at the bottom, so it kind of bonus points where it ended up at.
I am curious where the rest of your list goes because I'm already a little lost. I didn't think that this mask would be this low. Yeah. 7 for me is the Rob Zombie Halloween 1 mask.
Okay.
I think for me, I had a love-hate relationship with this mask because as it was first unveiled and we started to see screenshots and we got in the trailer, I really fucking loved it.
Yeah.
And then you see the movie, and much like Halloween 4,
Yeah.
I just think the mask looks not very good at times. I think it shows way too much of Tyler Maine's eyes at times.
Yeah.
There are certain shots where you can't really see his eyes, and then there are a lot of shots where you can. And I don't know. I think the key to doing Michael Wright is hiding the eyes as much as possible.
Yeah, always. And then I'll just piggyback right off of that because this landed at the same spot. It's this mask at number 7 for me. But I went the approach of not so much in the beginning where it's new and it's clean. And then, the boyfriend pulls it out and then he gets killed. And then you have young Michael put it on and it's oversized and it just looks ridiculous on like a 10-year-old kid. But later in the movie, he buries it in floorboards and he goes back to his house and he's ripping the floor apart to get it out. And when he first pulls it out, you see like the aging, the deterioration and the dirt. And then he puts it on, and where I don't like seeing the eyes, I think the rest of it translated really well. So I think they took a good approach with it. And then, like you had already said, some scenes they hide his eyes really well, and I think that's where it's like its strong point is at. Like it looks the best when his eyes are completely blacked out, or you can very barely see like the gloss of his eyes, and it works out really well. So yeah, this landed at number 7 for me.
Freddie says that Tom Moria played Myers in Halloween 4, who also played Dream Jason in Friday the 13th, Part 5. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it is Tom in this shot right here in the whole dream sequence. I'm pretty sure Taking Shape gets into that. I can't remember if it's the first book or the second book. It makes sense if it's the first book. But yeah, it makes sense. Like you put a different look at if you believe the stories, look at Nick Castle and Dick Warlock.
Oh yeah.
Like it almost looks like a different mask.
You can see it. If I get out of my way here, I have my 1 and 2 right behind me. And if you're looking at those, I mean, side by side, it's a little hard to see, but you can tell the first one, it's longer from the chin to the forehead. And then Warlock's face was a lot wider. So when it fit him, it rounded it out, but they look very similar, but the face shape is a big difference.
Yeah, it's definitely crucial for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What are we at now? 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we both had the same one. Well, I guess we're going right back to that mask because number 6 for me is Halloween 2. I know people are over the moon about this mask. I know Dean has a beautiful version of that right behind him. I don't know. I just don't like how tight fitting this mask was on Warlock compared to how it looked on Nick Castle.
Yeah, and that just goes to, like we said, Nick Castle's face way back in the day. He had a very long face from his forehead down to his chin. So the story behind that is his face was too big for it. So when he put it on, he had to stretch it, pull it down to try to get it to fit. And his chin would not fit into the space in the mask for it. So it kind of pushed it down. And that's why you get the Castle stretch where it elongates it and it becomes narrow in the face. And it makes the eyes look a little wonky, and you get that funny like look in the lower half too, like where his chin is at. And then you have Warlock right here, much wider. It's the other way. It stretches out ear to ear, and it pulls the eyes almost football shaped. So the eyes get a little bit smaller, but this gets a lot more rounded out and wider. But the way the dirt collected on this is like one of my favorites. I love how dirty and grimy it got.
Dustin says En's mask looks like it's the nastiest smelling thing in the world. Clearly, you never met my old neighbor. But anyway, let's. Sorry, I guess it's your 6 now.
Yeah, and we are revisiting Halloween 4, and we are going right back to the bedroom dream sequence. Yeah, that right there, we kind of already covered it, but everything we mentioned earlier, it just applies here. And it lands at number 6 on my list for me.
I'm pretty surprised you had this in front of the zombie mask and the H6 mask. I didn't expect that. And speaking of H6, that's where my top 5 begins. It's not the best shot of it. I was having a hard time finding high quality photos on.
Yeah, they're tough
for that movie. But H6, I own a version of it. it's to me, post Halloween 1 and 2, it's the closest that they come to having that mask right up until David Gordon Green's trilogy.
Okay. Nice. That's not bad. That's pretty good. I kind of covered 6 a little bit earlier because it's down at number 9 for me. So I will lead into my my top 5, and we get Halloween Kills. I love the effect, the burning. They didn't overdo it. You know, some of the hair gets a little singed and matted down up in the front there, but I think they took a great direction when they decided he was going to get trapped in the fire, and how to design this mask right here. On the front of the magazine right there, you can see the eyes are totally blacked out, and it's like that for pretty much the entire movie as well. So you just get all of this just damage and the burning. And like I said, they didn't overdo it, but I think they did it just enough to where, like, you know, he was in a fire, and it's, you know, you would think that the latex would have probably melted and probably got stuck to the side of his face, which might have been a cool approach, to have that thing fused to his face and now it's kind of stuck and that becomes his face. So that would kind of be a cool idea. But yeah, just
how off the rails they went with that whole final chapter movie. Why wouldn't they have gone that way with the mask design?
Yeah, it would have been smart. It would have been a cool little bit of a difference. Like, we've never seen the mask actually get stuck to his face and become like a part of him. Like, it's already a big part of him as a character as it is. So to kind of build that into the rest of it, and now that's his actual face, would be I think would be a pretty cool approach. But yeah, I love the direction they went with this.
I'm not going to comment on this one. I'm going to leave it until I come back to it. My number 4 is Halloween Ends. I truthfully think the one thing that David Gordon, it's not like there was only one thing, but the one thing more than anything else that David Gordon Green got right was the look of Michael Myers. This is probably, well, not probably, it is my least favorite look of that trilogy. But it's still, when you consider all the other movies, one of the closest we get to the original mask.
Yeah, I would agree. Definitely. I love the direction they went, like keeping it, okay, it's a sequel to 78 and we're going to really try to stay true to that look. So it was a great approach when we finally saw like the poster come out. We got the glimpse of what the mask was going to look like, and then the trailer comes out and we finally got to see his whole look. They nailed it. They nailed it big time. So big brownie points for choosing this design and then keeping it like continuity wise, like in sequence, like all 3 movies. Like it you see the evolution of the coveralls. They get more damage. He gets shot, beat, stabbed, everything, and they continued the look from 2018 all the way to Ends, which was great because from the rest of the franchise, his look changes so frequently throughout the rest of it. So great decision to keep it all continuous.
What do you have it for?
Where am I at here? Here we go. I'm breaking a rule. I'm going back to Halloween Kills, but I'm going the flashback mask. It was great to see them pretty much come as close as you can to the original 78 without running into like copyright issues or like licensing or anything, and likeness issues with William Shatner, because that's something they definitely have to keep in mind. But I like what they did with the flashback mask, because if you see that mask and then you sit it next to a 2018, the shape looks very, very similar. So you really got to see basically the evolution of the original and then the 40-year aging. I think it worked out really well. And like I said, it captured that look of 78 about as close as you could to the original without really kind of crossing any boundaries that would get them into like legal trouble or any kind of issues like that. So that's my number 4. Yeah, there it is. And right there is a great shot. It looked awesome in that alleyway.
I think the alleyway is definitely the best it looks in the movie.
Yeah.
Sure. I think there's some not great lighting moments while they're in the Myers house.
Oh yeah, when he's strangling the cop and that flashlight hits him right in the face, yeah, terrible. But that alleyway was definitely like you said the best it looked in that whole scene.
Number 3 for me is Halloween 2018. I remember when they dropped the poster for that.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we couldn't see the whole mask, that was the first thing that really lit the Halloween fan base on fire for this movie, in my opinion. You were getting a mask that was far and away the closest it's been to the first 2 movies. Something that people have clamored for and long wanted. And we got it. And even though the poster only shows a portion of it, I still remember the feedback. You can go online, like search it up. People reacting to the Halloween 2018 mask. And just like the fandom being over the moon simply from the direction of the mask, which was just a wild time. You know, it was full of positivity. The mask is great in this movie. I struggled with my top 3. Like I really did on this list. Maybe not as much as 4 through 7 or 8 or whatever it was. But I definitely struggled with the top 3. I knew what my number 1 was, but 2 and 3, I think I went back and forth probably 4 or 5 times within the last couple of days. So, yeah, this was a great mask. And you know what? It sits on James Jude Courtney very well as well.
Yeah. And we can stay right here because this is also my number 3. Like you said, that poster came out and it set the whole fandom on fire. It's just, like you said, closest to the original that we've seen. And they took a really, really good approach with the aging because latex doesn't age like that. It kind of droops and it looks funny after, X amount of time and how it's stored. So giving us like this look of like it's wrinkled, it's deteriorating a little bit, but it kind of kept its shape, no pun intended. But it kept the look, it kept the shape. James Jude Courtney wears it extremely well. And I've sat that mask in my collection next to my 1 and 2. And between the 2 different looks that you get from 78 to Halloween 2, when you put 2018 next to it, it kind of falls in between. It looks kind of like both, considering the 1 and 2 is the same mask. It just looks different from being worn by 2 different actors. The 2018 kind of falls right in between. It has more of a rounded look while still looking like the original 78. So major points on the design that they went with this mask. And I think you covered it well with everything you just mentioned about it. So it also lands at number 3 for me.
So we'll do something a little different here, and we will, since there's 2 left for each of us, we will do our number 1s first so that we're not spoiling what the number 1 is by doing our number 2 first. My number 1 favorite Halloween mask, Michael Myers mask, which is probably going to get hate from some people, is in fact the Halloween Kills mask. There's a little bias, for me anyways, having covered it. And I think we were, I know we were one of few that revealed what it looked like before a lot of official stuff was out there. It's a badass mask. The silver or the faded gray touch it has to it with the burning on the left-hand side of the mask. I didn't think you could top the original.
Yeah.
And for me, they do it in this movie. Maybe it's not used the best in the right lighting during certain points of the movie, but man, this mask is, for me, it's money. It's the pinnacle of Michael Myers masks.
Yeah, that's a great choice. I mean, it landed a little low for me, but I'm a little biased with my my first couple picks, so we'll get into that. But yeah, I mean, I touched on this a little earlier, but yeah, this is a fantastic mask that they went with, and all the design elements, like you said, the faded paint, and like I mentioned, they didn't overdo the burning, but that this thing was like in a fire. So phenomenal mask, and it's a great choice for number 1. for my number one, it's been sitting behind me the whole show, and I'm biased, but the original, the '78, terrified me as a child. Like, just look at that. That lived in my nightmares for years, and now I own one, and it sits proudly in a display case a few feet from my bed every night. So I love this thing, the simplicity behind it. They went to a store, they bought what they could get, and they just simple modifications, and this is the end product that you get. And like we mentioned with lighting and the way it looks and certain shots and shadows, this thing is terrifying. So it's been talked about to death, but this I think is one of the most iconic and classic pieces in horror history that we're ever going to get. So this sits proudly at my number one spot.
It's number 2 for me. I never thought I would have it at 2, and then Halloween Kills happened.
Yeah,
and I do think people need to be. I think there's too much of people. It's the original, so it's the best. It's the original, so it's the best. And I'm not saying that you having it at number 1 doesn't mean it's the best, because I think the overwhelming majority of people probably have this mask at number 1, and maybe because it's the original, or maybe it's simply because of the way it sat on Nick Castle in that movie and the eeriness that you get just watching him move around and stalk in the shadows.
right.
I don't know. Kills did something to snag that top spot for me. But it's a hell of a mask, and like if you go back and look at every iconic slasher's first mask that they get, whether it's Baghead Jason or Michael here, or early days Leatherface, I don't think anything compares to the way Michael Myers looks in 1978.
Yeah, I don't think there's, like you said, there's no comparison. This is, for a very long time, terrified me in nightmares, but became my favorite movie of all time, favorite horror movie, favorite franchise. And just looking back at it now, thinking me as a kid and was scared shitless of this, and then to just the love that grew over the years for everything about it. It's pretty surprising to me, but very happy about it. Couldn't really think of anything else that would replace it.
What do you got at 2?
We kind of covered it a little bit earlier, but for me, it's Halloween 2, and it's the continuity. They brought that mask back, and I like how it ended up fitting Dick Warlock. It gave it just a strange, different look, and then the aging, the dirt, the paint turned yellow, and just all the dirt that collects on it. It just makes it look really just grimy and nasty. And then you get certain shots in the hospital where he's standing behind the nurse as she's backing up, and then they repeat the same shot from the closet scene behind Laurie in the original, where that light just barely fades up and his mask comes into the shot, and he drives that syringe right into that girl's head, and it's just the way that looks is just phenomenal. So for me, this lands at number 2. For all those reasons, and like I said, with the continuity, I love the fact that they were able to bring this back and keep it in the second film.
Yeah, and there's still people. I've seen some of the discourse in our chat a little earlier. There's still people that are unaware that it's the same mask from the first movie, which is kind of wild when you think about it. I mean, these are movies that are filmed, 45 and I guess 42 years ago.
Yeah.
And yet you still have people that they don't know, and it's not, not like oh my god, they don't know, ha ha ha. They look like 2 entirely different things.
Yeah. And that's what we talked about earlier, like some lighting and how it fits a different actor. It can change the whole look. And that's just, I love the versatility with that. There's so much you can do with it. So, it's kind of funny to me that people still, after all this time, don't know. But I think it kind of speaks for itself.
Well, I think we did it, man. We did the thing. We came on here. We talked horror news, and you got to show and tell a little bit more. Take a look at Saw 10, and then we We knocked out our top 10 Halloween masks, and unsurprisingly, this mask did not make an appearance on tonight's show. For my money, it's the worst Michael Myers mask that there is.
Yeah, that's a rough one. I mean, what do you say about this? It's mostly referred to as the alien mask. Freddie talked about it. He said it's the Nicolas Cage mask, and I when I first heard that, I lost it. I loved hearing that comparison to, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. So it's just that I don't even know, like, who thought of this? Why was this included? Why did you not just reuse the mask from 4? The movie takes place right afterwards, and then a year later. Why would you not just reuse the same thing?
I mean, yeah, like, you can convince me that H2 is the same mask as H1, and it actually is the same mask.
Right.
You cannot convince me that the Halloween 5 mask is the same as the Halloween 4 mask. Like, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying what they're selling in regards to that. But anyways, I suppose that is going to do it for our little show tonight. Thank you to everybody for coming out and being patient. Look, when you have kids or dogs or both, sometimes running right on time isn't always possible. So thanks for being patient. Thanks for coming out. Remember, the number one way that you can help us out is totally free.